crippled during the COVID-19 era. We can't see each other, so we do social media. But we are trying to do it every year to keep our community engaged and know your issue, hear from you, and also to let you know that we also pay attention and engage and let folks that just move into our area, know who we are as well. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm State Senator Fong He. I represent East Side St. Paul, District 67, and I have been in office for 13 years now. I ran in 2012 and began my service in 2013. And all of a sudden, folks that are ahead of me in seniority retire, and I become the senior. I like the official of the East Side St. Paul now, and I'm still learning. Yeah. So currently, I am the Assistant Majority Leader. We are majority in the Senate by 1. And so, I'm glad that my colleague picked me as one of the Metro Assistant Majority Leader. In addition to that, in terms of leadership, I'm the Chair of Environment, Climate and Legacy. And so it's a tough year on the environmental front as well, on pretty much everything, even though we are ahead by 1. I'm going to pass the mic to my colleague here, President Neng Xiong and Leslie when she get here. But this year, things has been quite challenging with federal deployment, and that affect our businesses, our family, and such. So we took, instead of just have just a forum only, we took initiative to include resource group that are here with us. And so I'll go after Representative Neng Xiong speak and Leslie speak. I can go through the list and introduce. I have to look at my note here because my staff did it for me, and all this cannot happen without the support of our staff. Let's acknowledge give them applause first. We're gonna just look at note here, and I flipped to my note and want to give you the housekeeping rule. Bathroom is outside, not outside, but outside this water is available, and exit door, as you can see right here. We also have people that protect our safety too. Some are, in uniform, and some are not. And so you're in a safe space. And I'm glad that when we have folks sign up, we have 86 or so people sign up, register, and then we'll reveal our location to you during our time period. Is quite dire. So appreciate that we have. You showed up. We wasn't sure if people just register and not showing up, but everybody show up as they have registered. So thank you for your participation. Now I'm going to go through the list of who's here with us. And here next to me is Representative Leslie, 67A, and Representative Neng Xiong, 67B. And our local elected official that confirmed to be here, they will be here soon. Their name is on there, Councilwoman Shanika Johnson, and County Commissioner Neng Xiong, and then City Council Nelsie Yang had confirmed that they will be coming. And then on my left here, all right, we got it, okay. Due to our current circumstance, and so we invite UNIDO here, to help us engage our community, and any question that direct to us, we can answer. Perhaps they can, give a detailed answer to you. And also we have Coalition of Asian American Leaders now, for our and the makeup of our district is very diverse, different from other districts. We got a lot of call, and within the last month or so, I'm not just busy on legislation, but I'm busy on even helping with immigration or people who are facing deportation. So CAL is our intake organization now for the Southeast Asian who may be facing deportation or who may feel uneasy during this time, whether they hold green card or or citizen, they can reach out to Cal so that it alleviates some of the responsibility that our office has to do, because we're not an immigration office, but we want to help and we want to take leadership on that. And Tommy will be here soon. And then, there's a process of clemency, and folks that, it's a unique community here. There are constituents, yes, they're not eligible voter, but they're a constituent. Their family has been here for 40-some years, and they may have committed petty crime 30-some years ago, served their time, but when they sign a release agreement, it prevents them from becoming citizens. So now they're on the deport list. So I thought I'd invite the Clemency Review Commission to be here in case you need to ask questions, even not questions from you at the audience directly, but maybe get to know them too and learn about the process. And so transformational generation, they also deal with immigration as well. And I'll let you guys introduce yourself too as I pass the mic. I think I'm done now as far as my introduction. And I'm gonna pass the mic to House Member Liz Lee on 67A.
Well, thank you, Senator. And actually, I feel a little strange going next because this is actually Chair Zhang's district. But yes, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us in the Conway Rec Center. I don't have a lot as we start. I think because it's a town hall, it's probably best to have folks have their questions answered. But I think because this is our first in-person town hall together since the federal occupation, it's probably important to just do a quick recap of that. I had a virtual town hall kind of in the midst of that, but I think the important thing is first to thank everyone here, who took time to maybe volunteer and drop off groceries for families in need on the east side, or people who went to make sure that students in the east side were able to go to school safely and come home, or folks who accompanied their neighbors to doctor's visits and just to do normal things. I want to thank all of you guys. You should give yourselves a round of applause and your neighbors. I think that's really important. It goes without saying that, for us, right, like we're very lucky. We have 3 Hmong representatives here, and so I think it just means a lot that our neighbors would all turn out to protect folks like us, like protect our Somali neighbors and our Latin neighbors who were really in a tough spot and who still kind of are in a tough spot, right? So the press have left, a lot of the agents have left, but ICE is still around and people are still scared. I think it's also incumbent on us to remember that rent becomes due in a couple days, and some people still need rental assistance because they have still not been able to go back to work, right? And in this past month, they may not have earned their hours or been able to go back to the jobs that they previously had. And so I do want folks to keep that in mind as we talk a little bit about that today, because I think this is why our resource groups are here, but also want to look forward into this legislative session and next year. Obviously this is on the official side, but do want to say that this year we are wrapping up the policy year, but next year is a really big year as we think about how the state is going to fill the gaping budget hole because of HR 1 or the Senate reconciliation bill, or the big bad bill that steals billions of dollars from the state and from our county governments. I think maybe in the last couple of days you probably got your property tax assessment, right? Yeah, I got that yesterday, right? So I know that doesn't look great, and so we want to talk about that. But if you think that's bad, just think about how much worse it will be next year, because the federal government or the Trump Congress decided that they were going to steal more money from our state and from our counties to pay for corporate tax cuts. So we can talk a little bit about that, about how next year is a really important budget year and we need a people-centered budget. Thanks. Yeah, well, Yeah, so that's why actually I have a bill to tax digital ads. So right now, all of us are subsidizing major companies like Meta and Amazon when they put digital ads across your TV as you watch like your sports games. That is a place where we have to look for revenue raisers, and I tell you that because if they don't pay their share of taxes, all of us will end up paying more, and so we can chat more about that. Thanks.
So we can get straight to the town hall, but I do want to point out that my office, we did bring out some information on the House side, our DFL priorities, so you can get a chance. It's down by the table there. Bonzi, you raise your hand so folks can see it. And then also, I know that one of the conversations that we were going to center in this town hall is on legislation that we are working here locally to address all the federal actions. And so there's also a sheet with all the bills that represent Liz Lee, myself, and Senator Hurd. We're working on legislature this year. I think it's very important for folks to understand that in the House, we are tied. And so anything that we are going to move forward, we need buy-in from Republicans. Different from the Senate, where they're up by one seat. And so conversations tonight, we will be talking about some of these legislations where many of you have submitted questions asking us about what we're going to do to address ICE. And so I'll look forward to having those conversations, and also see Commissioner Neng Xiong is here, and you're from Council Member. Oh, gotcha.
Hello, and Neng Xiong. Thank you so much, Senator Hurd, Representative Lee, Representative Xiong, for representing us well at the state capitol and hosting tonight's town hall. I am invited as a guest to be a part of this panel and help answer any questions. As our state representative and senators have mentioned already, that we are facing big like cuts from just SNAP, Medicaid, that we are looking to the state for partners in. Currently in state statute right now, it says that if the state has payment error rates around SNAP, and ours at the higher level identified by the Trump administration, it means that they are going to pass down administrative costs onto the counties, including benefits costs. And so those are just significant ones that I've been working directly with the Association of Minnesota Counties. We've heard some positive proposals from the governor's budget proposal that would cover the benefits costs, but then the administrative costs are what is going to be shared by both the state and the county currently. But of course, I look forward to continue those dialogue and conversations with our state legislators about how that would impact us. But overall, we are just bracing for that, those increases. We had a budget, we have a biennial budget, and we're anticipating for this year, what we had presented last year for this year is about 7.5 levy already. And so that will still, we're still going through that budget process throughout the year here, but we're always looking for ways to decrease that levy amount. Thank you.
Everyone, I'm Neng Xiong. I'm the newly elected council vice president on the St. Paul City Council. I love that it's a full room here tonight, so thank you all for being here. I want to give a huge shout out to our state legislators. Thank you for extending the invitation to our East Side elected officials at the local level to be here. I really look forward to learning from all of you, and all of you in the crowd too, and being able to share information at the city level with you.
I know that Minnesota are nice, and Minnesota is nice, and people east side is nicer. But because I control, I'm a facilitator. Although this is our town hall, Senate District 67 town hall, but I'm a moderator, so I want to control the crowd as well. And so hopefully there's no rude person. I mean, rude doesn't mean that your questioning or your comment are the opposite. It's not that. It's that just that you're here to create chaos. So then, if that happens, I will exert my right of taking you out. I don't want to say that. So now let's pass the mic to our resource group here.
Hello everybody, my name is Jose Villarinosa, pronouns are he and his. I am the lead immigration organizer at Unidos Minnesota and Monarca Man. Happy to be here.
Neng Xiong, Neng Xiong. I work for the Coalition of Asian American Leaders. I'm the executive and network director for the Coalition of Asian American Leaders, and we're based here in St. Paul, but we do work statewide.
Hello, I'm Carly Stark. I'm the Executive Director of the Clemency Review Commission. We're a state agency that works with the Board of Pardons to process pardon and commutation applications.
Hi, Neng Xiong, everybody. My name is Say. I'm the Executive Director of Transforming Generations. We're located in St. Paul. We work with victim survivors and folks impacted by deportation as well as mental health services. I'm happy to be here.
And most of us on this panel here are bilingual, at least Hmong and English. Some of us speak Spanish as well, but if anyone want to ask a question or make comment in Hmong, you're welcome. Any language, I will certainly try, to interpret that, or we'll figure that out. I apologize that we don't have the resource to have like higher translation standby here to do simultaneous translation, but we do what we can. So nhớ rằng sau này tôi hạt trong mẹ ta bé sĩ thằng nó bé thằng lu kỹ đạo đó chỉ bé cho nó y bao lu mong số lên giờ là số lên mẹ cho tôi nó mẹ sáng lu mong nó là gì mình lu tao bé cho hạt trong mẹ ta bé cho hạt trong mẹ dạng cái bé bao là bao tao okay. So in the Senate here, just a little brief update. We just passed the rental assistant bill out of the Senate, and in my jurisdiction, the environment, which has passed the LCCMR as a legislative commission for Minnesota. So resource that's a big bill. It's going to the floor very, very soon. In addition to that, there also the community grant, and I want Eastside to take note of the community grant because it's a bill that I fought very hard for, co-sponsored in the House with Representative Athena Holland, and so she represents 64, right? Is it 64? 66, which is we're just next to us, like our case is dividing line. So we worked very hard to pass the community grant. It appropriated $28 million a year for environmental justice advocacy, for youth stewardship, for environment to keep our outdoor experience to carry on for the next generation. There's a mission statement there, like of LCCMR is to protect, preserve, conserve, and enhance our air and water and wildlife in our state. So we worked very hard on that in 2023, and now it become law because you voted on the ballot. It's part of the environmental trust fund. It's the lottery proceed that we use to dedicate for our environment. And so with this, since I worked very hard and with such a large amount of dollar under the management of DNR, I don't want Eastside to miss the opportunity of applying. It's for municipal, local organizations, small organization. In the past, there's the 5.5% of the lottery proceeds have been going to good research though, but they're going to big organizations like University of Minnesota or Docs Unlimited, Fast and Forever, but what about like small agency that only operate under $100,000? Sometimes, you know, it's kind of, you know, funny when you're competing with folks that ask for $1 million, you're asking for only for $50,000 to do activity. So that grant's coming in May, so I want you to pay attention. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on, let's see, on my newsletter. You can scan and subscribe to my newsletter too, so you know when the grant is coming, the RFP coming around, I will be announcing there. So that's just a little update of what I've been done for the last month or so, and want to pass the mic to you to see if you have any question. Representative, do you have anything more to say? Okay, so we want to, number one, prioritize those of you who are here for comments, feedback, or question to us. And yep, we do have Mike Bunsey will pass the mic around.
I have the mic, guys.
And we also streamline this on my Facebook too, so then the second group will be those who watch online and they can, you know, I don't know, like we didn't put a filter on it, so we don't know how sometimes they just put weird comment on it, but like we will sample the questions that are reasonable to answer. And then we also have default, the pre-submitted question, we'll go to that too, but we want to prioritize and hear from you, those of you who are here. And we're gonna hear from, and like I said earlier, if you don't speak English very well, like me, English is my second language and I also stutter as well, you know, challenging to stutter in Hmong too, that's a bigger challenge. So you can ask a common question in your own language. And Memo Lunuan China, no te tacho peti ya mai na, betu pato for ta pe hatang kuto hamiji represent Leslie represent je chong to hamiji da pe oran chi tao le ilita no le ta shino pe mo mai to me chang te me sang to pe na chi la tao hỏi me sa me chi mo ra chi no la me sa ha te yang ke chai chai le me no la cho pe no la yin tao hỏi me chang ha pe so da me mo lu chi rong ai ko pe chao mo ki chai to bang to lu sei no la yin tao to yang te pa cho ta bao lần da. All right?
Okay, looks like we got one over here.
My name is Leanne Satma. I live in 67D. Hope you can hear me now? Yes. Okay, well, first I want to thank you all for all the work you've done to protect Black and Brown communities here in Eastside. It means a lot. And I want to see those programs continue and be supported. And so I'm interested in also learning more about what you were saying, Representative Lee, about balancing the budget and trying to support these community programs while also not increasing the tax burden on residents here on the east side.
Yeah, sure. So thank you. That's a very important question. So for background, I think we talked about this often in like some of my town halls that the legislature has a 2-year session. So in the first year, we call that the budget year, and in the second year, we call that the policy year. So right now, we are in policy year because we set the budget last year. We passed a 2-year budget. And what I'm saying is, so next year, we have to pass another 2-year budget. And that's where it's going to get tricky because we already know that with the passage of HR 1, that's going to have an impact on like 2 really big programs in our state. One of the programs is SNAP. So we have a cost sharing agreement. That's just the way it's set up, right? So the federal government provides a large part of the funding, and then the counties administer that, and we provide like a little bit of funding. And so right now with that, because they needed to pay for their corporate tax cuts for corporations and billionaires, they did a cost shifting accounting thing where now they're going to reimburse counties less for the work that they do. So that's going to happen. So counties are going to get like half as much money as they used to for SNAP, and then they're also going to be forced to do twice as much work because HR1 also requires more frequent recertification because of this misconception that, you know, there is like massive fraud in the SNAP program, right? Which is not true, because actually like SNAP is one of the hardest programs to qualify for. Like if you've ever tried to apply for it, like it's actually super, super strict. And so we already know that that's going to hit counties, and that's also going to hit the state. And so next year, like, we are going to have to decide if we as a state want to make sure that our neighbors continue to be fed, and if that's the decision, then we have to find money for that in our own state budget. But the hard thing is, like, right, we have to balance the budget, unlike the federal government, which can, like, quote unquote print more money and just like add on to the deficit. We have to zero out, right? We have to find that money somewhere. So someone said, there's no money. That's true, there's no money. So, you know, the other thing is, so there's kind of usually two options in these situations, right? So you're either gonna have to cut programs or cut services or cut back, you scale back, or you expand the pie, right? You find ways to raise revenues so that you can pay for the things that you care about and the things that are important for, you know, a thriving community. And so that's kind of like part of the discussion. And then the other program is going to be healthcare, right? Like healthcare, our public health system took like at least $1 trillion cut. It was about $1.1 trillion, again, to pay for these tax breaks that like don't even, you know, benefit any of us, right? Like unimaginable wealth. But you know, again, people are going to have to be recertified for medical assistance more frequently, and you know, services that like a lot of vulnerable adults and vulnerable like children rely on will probably have to be cut or scaled back. So we're not sure where that money's going to come from, but like next year, you know, whoever is in the legislature is going to have to decide, you know, what services we want to keep funding, or like how we raise revenues to pay for all this. So like that's going to be like really important.
And we got, oh, sorry. Looks like we got another question over here.
I do also want to say, Councilmember Shaniqua Johnson was going to try to make it, but she has a family emergency, so unfortunately, she's not able to make it, but she really did want to make it. And then, yeah, I also want to give shout out to Adam back there, because I think he was missed in the staff recognition, so thanks, Adam. He's a person who you can follow up with if you have questions, or if you want to have a meeting, so thanks.
And I just want to add to that, you have the right person, because she sits on tax committee, and so she will have an answer for you.
That's Jay saying, meet with Liz, I guess.
Hi, my name's Jen. I'm in 67B, and I really like the bills that you're putting forward. How can we support them if you already support them?
Good question there. How you support them is you come see us. It's also reinforce and give us confidence that we're taking the right route. And at the same time, you also look at the committee where the bill is traveling. You can help talk to our colleague, not only our Democrat colleague, but talk to the other side too, just to get an ideas where there are how they're going to oppose us or, you know, contradicting with us. That's information gathering. But, you know, do go and, you know, sample and talk to our colleagues as well. That will be a driven force. And also when you talk to them, tell them that you're from the East Side St. Paul, so it really matter where you're from, so that, you know, we don't see to be there alone. You know, whether it's Representative Leslie, Representative Jay Xiong, myself, we're not alone, but because we have you, and having your voice, your diverse voice, really matters.
I have a constituent who, when he has an opinion, it's usually no, but he emails his testimony to the committee every time the bill is up for a hearing. And so that is definitely one way to make yourself heard if you cannot physically show up to the hearing. I also think, like, you know, if you're a part of any of the like other large groups that do advocacy days at the Capitol, like, it's always good to show up in numbers and then join other people when they meet with, say, the Republicans who were always trying to get onto our bills, so they hear from, you know, their constituents and, you know, like everyday Minnesotans about why an issue is really important to them. Because obviously, like, people, like, we will listen to our constituents first, but, you know, if you oppose a Republican bill, you can always, like, write in your testimony and like email that in so they know that you pose that. But yeah, showing up to the Capitol with like other people is also really helpful, especially if, you know, they're meeting with a Republican who may be opposed to the issue. Like going in numbers is really helpful for people.
And to add on to what Representative Lee said, email, phone call, meet with us, which I've met with you. And like, for example, one of the bills I'm working on is to support businesses impacted from all the federal application here, and I'm working with the Litos, Sarah Lopez. When we go on our spring break, we'll be looking at details, but like for example, I'm having Litos help me find some constituents and our Republican colleagues, districts to push my colleagues to support the bill that I'm working on. And so it's a team effort. We need everyone's hand to help us move things forward, because as I said earlier, we are tied in the Minnesota House, and to get anything passed, we need one Republican vote to agree with us to pass any of the bills that we have introduced here.
And in the Senate, we have to make sure that we have strong 34. And even though we have 34 and we're in the majority, we represent different area of our state. We have those that represent the metro, we have those that represent the Iron Range and our Southwest community, our farmland. So sometimes, you know, we're I would say we're strong together, but sometimes we're a little off in accommodating, you know, our constituents. So we have to be understanding of the makeup of our caucus as well. So things that will pass will have to have strong 34 or have partnership from the other aisles. Yeah, I just want to share that. And while before we move further, I want to say a few words in Hmong and also say the community that we are in, because you know, like we're so busy. This session passed by so quickly, and I only noted that Representative Leslie and Tax and Representative Neng Xiong are in veteran, but then the other committee, I even trying to figure out. So just want to let folk know that I'm in the transportation committee, and I'm in the job committee, economic development committee, and also the environment committee, which I chair. Let's see, I say I'm gonna shift it to Hmong. So, 下次说这有没有某种关系呢？没看到呢。古要做transportation committee， 哈，古要做考古考虑哈，考筛做environment。Shift to English again. You might, on the environment front, we're going to set a hearing on the ATV trail coming up this Thursday, and there's misinformation out there said Senator Fong, I'm going to take people ATV away, which is not true. I'm for ATV, but we just need to put legislation, and I'm not the chief author, but I'm just the chair to give a hearing, and there's just misinformation out there. So don't believe the hype, don't believe the misinformation. 新政啲係咪有補啲有下個皮啊？但係我老點都是新政嗰下就個政人就摸 ATV 的是俾到補俾到啲路長到個護士啊。So it's the state forest, it's the state land, public land that we need to care for as well, not just having ATV running around. So yep. So I'm kind of hold the mic here, but tell us your community, and then we'll pass on to the next question.
Yeah, so good reminder. I am Vice Chair of Elections and Local Government. So that's elections and then a bunch of like random things. Right now we're debating whether to allow cities and counties to, I guess, allow them even just the option of like streaming their meetings on like social media platforms, and how to make that equitable, especially if they're gonna like collect comments, and like whether you need to or should be verifying people when they comment, or like whether we should keep comments from Russian bots in the official record and like all that interesting stuff as we, you know, move into this new digital world. So that's one committee, and then taxes, as was mentioned, and also education and finance. So that's making sure that, right, we have enough money to fund public schools for our students.
I chair the Veterans and Military Affairs Division, and I'm also a member of the Capital Investment Committee and the Legacy Committee. In the Legacy Committee, we are, Senator is the chair on the Senate side, but we've been working on arts and cultural funding, and then in the Capital Investment Committee, we have been working on infrastructure, especially right here on the east side, Total Bridge. Senator Hurd and I, we've been chief authors of the bill to get that bridge done. It's been 6, 7, ever since I got elected in office. And so it's been too long. I'm glad that they're finally working on that. And then on the Veterans Committee, we have been doing a lot of work on suicide prevention, veteran homes, and with all the federal cuts from the Trump administration, we've been working to address food security for our veterans.
Okay, and moving to the next question.
I just have something quick I want to add to the question. I wanted to share that there are many ways that you all can uplift the bills that you support to even your local elected officials too. For example, at the city level, every year we pass a legislative agenda, which is an agenda that conveys the bills, the sort of changes, policies that we support. And a lot of these are bills that come directly from community members. I mean, some of them are bills that we are on board with already because it's going to benefit the city greatly, which is, for example, updating or modernizing our formula for the local government aid so that St. Paul can get their fair portion of dollars from the state to be able to just do what we do every day in keeping your city going for all of you. And so you can contact your city, your council member, also the mayor, to let them know, I support this bill, can you add it to the legislative agenda? And even if we've already approved the agenda, we can always bring it up during another council meeting and say we would like to amend it and add this one as well. So another thing too is I looked through the questions that were submitted by everybody, and I just really appreciate folks being so thoughtful and letting us know ahead of time what you're coming to the town hall here wanting to speak about. And I know that many of these questions are state oriented, which totally makes sense because our awesome legislators are the ones hosting the town hall today. I wanted to just make a pitch to that. One of the most common things that people are reaching out to my office for is that they still have their loved one who is detained, and they're trying to figure out how they can get their loved one home. This is really personal to me because my uncle, my dad's younger brother, was detained by ICE earlier in February, and after 5 days of detainment, he was released with the support of the Twin Cities Habeas Collective. And I wanted to let everyone know about the Twin Cities Habeas Collective because they have played such a key role in supporting people and getting released into back to the community because they were detained unlawfully, unjustly. Maybe they had a conviction from over 30 years ago, and they've been in compliance with what ICE is asking from them. They go to ICE check-ins, and all of a sudden they get picked up at the front of their house, which is exactly what happened to my uncle. And that's exactly why the judge who received that the habeas corpus petition made that decision to have him be released. And so it's so important for folks to know about this. My office, we played a key role in writing pardon letters for anyone who is wanting to apply to get a pardon from the governor so that they aren't at risk of detainment. And so if you all know somebody, or maybe you are somebody who's been impacted, you have a loved one who's been impacted, please reach out to your elected officials. Anybody up here could be writing those letters of support. So cú họp em chỉ hay yang cho nên một tình giáo ni cho nó chính rồi tí state ni lỡ trong trâu lỡ ni sau xe cho phần tới sai có ni họ tên những cho trâu lỡ thì ai có họ tàu có cái những tới nói thì ni trâu tàu nó ni cho tụi ta sinh lô là chỉ cho trong một thái khi đó là tiền đi tới phần tới chỉ em không có cho ta sinh lô thế cho trong mình rồi họ khi trâu cho nó chính trâu thì khác đó là chỉ lo bóng bà thì hay thì bây giờ thấy họ biểu nó thì khi họ phải cho nó chỉ bóng nó thì đó họ luôn luôn phải ta rồi còn hay thì giờอยู่thấy họ biểu chỉ từ nó chịu họ nó thì stay họ thới nó gì dù họ rồi ô đi trả thì họ bắt thới tàu họ tới ship kia em thấy nhiều lúc sau trâu nhiều lúc số trâu á thì có họ tàu không lại là gì cái họ của họ biết cái gì họ cho lúc đó mà biết họ chạy tàu không họ gìเป็นตอนนี้ยอดโจจะมาชี้ตัวที่ขับรถชี้คอกุศลแค่นั้นเองอันนี้โจโหผู้ต้องการอีอย่างว่าจะไปสิ่งเลยที่ผู้ตัวผู้ชอบเลยซอยเขาเก็บป้าตัวเองเป็นจริงใช้เก็บป้าซ่อนแต่เขาว่าอยู่จอตัวนี้ว่ารู้จะชัวอีกอย่างแต่ไอซ์นะจะมาแต่ฉันไม่ได้มาเดินนี่จ้องเลยตัวไอซ์เดย์เลยจริงแต่ตัวนี้เลยจริงเจ้ากันกลัวที่พอจะกินชอบเลยผู้ยิ่งอย่างสักครั้งเดียวแต่ผู้ตัวจริงใจเพี้ยผู้ตัวจริงใจนี้ตัวไอซ์เดย์มันล้อที่ได้ชนิดตัวจอเราที่เราเขาไม่รู้ก็เขาตัว Twin Cities Habeas Collective บ้านเธอนี่นะที่เราเขาใหญ่ที่จ้างตัวผู้ว่า Habeas Corpus ที่ดีมากคนแต่ดูจริงใจที่ตัวจอรอเลยที่อยากให้เดียนี่ว่าตัวนี้คือจะชวนจริงเขาถึงตัวยังเช็คป้าตัวตรงนี่เขานี่เขาดูตัวรู้ Twin Cities Habeas Collective ที่ชี้เพี้ยนี่เขาติดต่อไปเจอเนาะย่อเนาะจริงๆตัวฉันเนาะเช็คป้าเรายิ่งต่อที่ชี้เพี้ยไปมาไปยิ่งชอบต่ออีจากตัว pardon equal letter support นะตัวนี้เขา pardon application อยู่ให้เดี๋ยวนี้มวยอีกตัวนี้ป้อยหรือเขาที่ช่วยยัดตลอดเลยเขาได้เป็นเขาตื้อหรือซ้ำเขาดู governor เขาเป็นรู้สิ่งเนาะก่อนเลยนะดู governor ที่อาซีโจตัวนี้แต่นะก่อนเขามีเขาสมมติได้เป็นยัดตลอดเลยแต่ชิ้นเราเลยด้วยชิ้นว่าเลยดู governor ยิ่งมีจัดยิ่งเขาจะเกยจัดสีเราตัวนี้แต่ก็เขาชิ้นว่าหยิบเขาชื่อเขาตื้ออีกกับเป็นที่น้อยชีสท้องเด่นนะ
Just to add on what the topic that Council Member Ying was speaking on, I also want to take time to acknowledge someone here from Congresswoman Betty McCollum's office, Chow Lee, over there. Chow, I just want to say thank you so much. My office, we've been contacting you about constituents who have been detained and need help with immigration issues, and you've been just super awesome, picking up phone calls, responding emails on the weekend at 11 p.m. at night, Cal contacting us in the middle of the weekend, late at night, and Chow was like the first to respond to helping our families in need. So if you know of folks who are facing immigration issues, feel free to reach out to us or contact Chow from Mr. Lee, who happens to be my colleague here's father, representative. So, yana tikri chancho wata ya minute ha John de ha mo tem ya chinju ai song lo. So sha le go to准备了红港了，去了户部做早里跟你我了做 Congressman 的那里面看了红港，你到班被叫忙哈就被升去做的，将领中度原理我你班被变成了班到啥子领域或者到或者点名。
Hi there, my name is Bonnie. I'm from 67A. I want to be clear, I support any and everything that you can do to rein in ICE and hold them accountable for their abuses of our community. What I do not see anywhere in here or the other documents I've read is an enforcement mechanism. It was really disheartening to see St. Paul police gassing our neighbors and allowing ICE to use their parking lots as staging. Ramsey County Sheriff refused to intervene when our neighbors are being assaulted. The State Patrol used force against our neighbors during protests. So at the city, county, and state level, our law enforcement spectacularly failed us during this occupation. So what I want to know is how are you going to make our law enforcement work for us and actually enforce these laws to hold our federal agents accountable? Thanks so much.
Good questions. You know, we still follow up. We have elected a new mayor, and she's still going to set a time for us to talk to, have the chief of police report to us the incident that we saw happen on Rose Street. You know, like on my point of view, I see that the police was not on the people's side, and they deployed gas. Now I lost my thought. They was deploying gas and other stuff. They don't need to do that. You know, they could just, after people are leaving, just leave too. And instead that they would put out gas and fume and cause no commotion at the end. So it's due. I did talk to the mayor about a week ago about following up whether we're still gonna have that hearing, because when Mayor Carter was around, he said he's gonna have the chief of police report that to us legislature of that what happened in that event, and I hope this current mayor Aaron will do the same. We still wait to hear report from the chief of police whether from official statement the police has said that they have not done violate anything, but we want to hear from directly from the chief of police with our elected official, especially at the state level. That's what you hear too, right?
Well, yeah, I guess, I wanna say yes, thank you, that is absolutely right. I was there, so were other legislators, other legislators were gassed. I knew to bring my own N95 mask, but you could still feel it. And we are waiting, I mean, I will not comment because it seems like, we have folks from the city here on the investigation and that path forward. So thankfully we have someone from the city council here to, I guess, provide context on that. But I think the question about enforcement is a really important question. And I wish there were an easy answer. My answer, unfortunately, is a political answer, is that we have to have 68 votes to pass any legislation for enforcement, and so that is, kind of the work we have to do, right? It's convincing, someone across the aisle, or it's changing the makeup of the legislature next year so that, we can pursue those avenues. It's either that or it's our representatives in Congress using the tools that we already have. So, we're there with you. Like you said, that's just a sampling of the bills that we've introduced. There are, there's Representative Lee Finke's bill to unmask agents, and there are other, I guess, enforcement adjacent or enforcement-esque bills that have been introduced. They just will not pass unless we have someone from the other side pass. And it seems like the don't tread on me people, or the libertarians are not living up to their principles, and so it might just be that you have to change the makeup of the legislature if we want that legislation to pass.
The simple answer to the question is yes, there is actually legislation being drafted as we speak, and if you look at, I did know that these are just some of the legislation that we have drafted. As you can see, some of them have bills here. So to answer your question, yes, there is something that's being drafted. It's like what our representative Lee said, the politics of it too. And so once it's ready, then we'll be here and work on it.
I would just add, from the county, the sheriff's office is their own elected office as well. So I won't be able to speak on his behalf about how he has responded. But for the county board, we are responsible on deciding whether or not we sign the 287 agreements that gives the sheriffs the authority to coordinate with ICE. And I will be clear that on our board, there is no appetite whatsoever to sign on to such agreements. Because either way, it has been found and we have been advised that the chances of us getting sued for holding on to someone longer than they need to be detained for is illegal. So we are not in the business of detaining people any longer than they need to. In addition to that, our work with both the county attorney's office and the sheriff's office, as well as the other law enforcement, we've learned also from Hennepin County about how to respond too. So, kudos to County Attorney John Choi, who led the way in working with our local law enforcement to say, if there is a fatality that's connected to ICE, that local law enforcement will secure the scene and not leave it to ICE. So I would say there's some progress there. And again, I would leave it to the rest of our local law enforcement to respond about how they have responded.
Thanks for the question. The ICE operations that took place on Rose Avenue in November was just completely horrendous. It was unacceptable, and I've made it really clear about my stance, which is that the actions from our St. Paul Police Department was also horrendous and unacceptable. We had people who came to our truth and taxation hearing. Literally, it was on the day of. I just think it was so coincidental, but thank goodness we had that public hearing, because then we got to hear from people that same evening about what they witnessed, even though they, usually you come to a truth and taxation hearing to talk about property taxes. And so that input, along with literally 2 months of input that we kept getting from our residents, because I opened up a public hearing for every Wednesday to make sure that we were hearing grievances from the community. All that has really led to the council being able to deliver on approving ordinances to protect our residents and ensure that we don't see that same operation happening again. Some of those ordinances are, we have required identification for every single law enforcement officer in our city. It doesn't matter what entity you're from, you have to have identification. And we have banned ICE from our city-owned and city-controlled parking lots. Also limited the use of masks for law enforcement officers as well. And right now, the council members are in deliberation and working to put together a language for an ordinance that would require for training and requirements and to submit data basically about encounters that our police officers they do have with ICE agents here in our city. And that is something that has been quite contentious so far, but I hope to see it get to the finish line. And so I just want to make it really clear that I don't ever want to see a repeat of what happened back in November, and the council has worked so hard to make sure that that isn't happening. And we've also continued to just engage with community members because we know the work is not done. Like what is still unresolved right now is how we can keep our daycare centers safe, also hospitals as well, places where people go and worship. And a lot of these, I would say, it seems like that might be pretty tricky because it seems like something that would be more for the federal government to really be approving and making changes on, but we are going to explore that and see what we can do at the city level. Just to add to it, if you all have anything else that you would like to send our way in terms of ideas, initiatives, or just ways that you and your neighbors want to feel protected in our city, please feel free to share it with me, email it to the other council members, and also the mayor too.
Hi everyone, I have a quick response to the person who asked the question about what bills we're passing. So Representative Sandra Feist is pushing a bill called the Act, and it does help.
You might need to hold it for 3 seconds for it to turn on.
I just wanted to say that Representative Sandra Feist is the chief author of a bill in the House, and Senator Fate is the chief author in the Senate, which asks the legislature to separate state funding from federal funding so that the state does not enforce federal immigration expectations. So it's really a separation of powers, and the MAP caucus, which all these folks are on, have supported it in the past and continue to support it. So they are working on holding our local public safety folks not accountable, but giving them the ability to be able to not have to enforce the federal government's responsibilities if they want to pursue immigration issues. Does that make sense? And so it's a really important bill, and it does exactly what City Council Member Neng Xiong said, which it doesn't allow ICE to go onto public or school properties, government properties, courthouses, child care facilities. It actually is a really good bill that's really comprehensive. It's only gotten movement in the Senate and no movement at all in the House, but there's not much movement in the House in general.
It's on the first page and second page of the paper.
And I'm on the, I have a list of all the bills that I signed on to, on holding ICE accountable. I thought I brought the list, but I didn't have it here. But bills that I'm on in terms of holding ICE accountable is ban the mask, and also regulate that those who have been employed by ICE could not seek position as a peace officer in our state. The other one is that it also gives people the right to sue federal agent, and also allow BCA for investigation. So those are the few bills that I'm on, that I've been working on. So just want to answer to your question. Who's next?
Hey, my name's Nathan. I'm in 67A, and I guess my question is around like finances. And it's just really frustrating to me to continue to be fleeced every single day on everything that I purchase. From vehicle tax, which seem like I'm hearing that are going to be going up. That's just ridiculous. Representative Lee, you're kind of jokingly saying the property tax bills. I think you have the ability to make that cheaper for us in the state, and you're kind of jokingly saying that you received it and you thought it was a lot of money. Well, it is a lot of money. I can't afford it. It's really expensive for me and my family to live here and to have home ownership. And everyone continues to talk about have home ownership. Well, you can't have home ownership when you're paying like $4,000 in property taxes a year and having to pay for higher Excel energy bills, having to pay for higher food, everything like that. And I feel like when you're talking about this stuff, you're talking about trying to raise revenue and charging like other entities, big businesses. But what do you think is going to happen? They're going to charge those big businesses taxes, and then what they're going to do is they're going to just return it back to the citizen and charge us. And so in the return, it's really not saving us any money or basically generating money for the state. And it's just very frustrating to live in this state and continue to get fleeced and getting charged for everything. And I just kind of wonder what your thought is around that, and why you think like you can continue to charge and charge and charge, and then until people say we're done.
Well, so first of all, yes, affordability is a really important, serious issue, and I think, I know you're absolutely mischaracterizing what I was saying, because what I was saying was we need to balance the budget, and yes, property taxes are really high. I mean, I have to pay them too. That was not a joke. It's a serious thing, and this is something that we have to wrestle with, right? I was chair or vice chair of the property tax committee when the Democrats were in control, because this is a committee that the Republicans conveniently always get rid of when they're in power, because they don't like to talk about property taxes. So please do not walk away from this town hall thinking that I do not take property taxes seriously. That is not true. And again, when we talk about balancing the budget, we have to have a robust budget so that we can have the program called property tax refunds. So the way that the state has been trying to make sure that we fund county services and people are not overburdened with property taxes is by having a property tax refund program. That's a means-tested, income-tested program, and then we also have something called the Senior Deferral Program, which is a program specifically targeted for seniors. If we have more money, we can make those income limits more generous. So I see people shaking their heads, but I do want to make sure you understand, like when we had the surplus, we did make the property tax refund program much more generous. And we did help more people pay for, or we did provide more refunds to Minnesotans across the state, because the property taxes that you pay actually don't go to the state. Let me tell you that. They go to your county, and they go to your county to fund all the services that we ask our counties to administer and take care of. So, I mean, I'm sure Commissioner Dong can talk a little bit more about that, but just want to make sure you know that. And across the board, like affordability is something that all of us own, but also like the guy at the top owns that too, right? That's President Trump, who instituted tariffs unnecessarily, right? So the tariffs that he put on all of us raised billions of dollars, and that is sitting in the treasury, and that's funding the 20 billion that we're sending to his friends in South America, right? So I also want to make that very clear that we all own that, and this is why I'm talking about a people-centered budget next year. We're gonna have to absolutely own that when we have to balance our budget, right? And so I also do want to make sure that you understand that. I think the notion that if we tax businesses, they're gonna pass that on to consumers, that is not necessarily true. So as we've all seen, our economy is moving towards a service-oriented economy, right? You're no longer seeing door-to-door salesmen because we don't really buy products anymore. We buy services. And so right now in the state of Minnesota, we don't tax services, right? When you go get your hair done or whatever, you don't see taxes for the service itself. You have to pay taxes on the products that they use on you, right? But we don't charge tax on services. And so as our economy moves towards being more service oriented, we have to rethink our really archaic tax code as we move towards more digital products that are not tangible, right? The biggest boom in the economy is selling digital graphics or selling software. None of that stuff is taxed. And so we need to update our tax code to make sure that we're capturing all of this lost revenue that that no one is taxing, right? And the companies right now that are driving the economy and driving the stock market is all these digital companies, and they're making all this money tax free. So it's not unrealistic to say that we need to change or we need to update our tax code to capture some of that back into the state.
I will also add a little bit too about how Ramsey County is proposing solution to decrease. Can you hear me? Oh.
Don't hold in the middle. When you hold in the middle, you're pressing.
Oh, hello? Can you hear me? No, not really.
Testing? I will add that Representative Leslie has been a great partner for Ramsey County. We have proposed legislation called the Capital Complex Host Program. In greater Minnesota, where we have DNR land and state-owned land that are the masses, it's called payment in lieu of taxes. And so the state gives counties those dollars. In Ramsey County, we are the smallest, densest county in the metro. And if you think about land as wealth, well, Ramsey County is not wealthy. We're the smallest county geographically. So our proposal is to treat the Capitol Complex as state land and charge it based off of the square footage. So based off on that proposal alone, we're asking and looking towards $27 million from the state to help support the county. Whether that gets traction or not, we haven't heard great opposition to it yet, but I think as we get more support from the rest of the folks in Ramsey County to continue to talk about it and support it, to say that this is exactly the same as, and to be treated with parity and equity with the rest of Minnesota would be so appreciated. And just to give you an idea of what 27 million would mean for us, it would mean it would offset about 5 percentage points off our levy. So that would go such a long ways. Thank you.
Any question from a Hmong resident?
Yeah, are there any questions from the Hmong participants?
I'm not talking about resident, I'm talking about concerning those possible deportation. If possible, we can list all of them. Those may be deportation to the governor if we really want to help them. Keep them in the United States. As a governor, pardon everybody. This is, I think. Thank you.
Sorry, now we have to deal with only one mic now.
This person was next.
Okay, sure. Testing. Okay, I'm gonna answer that, and that's why I brought Kyle and the clemency review. There's a process, and just it's a good news that we have government, people have been pardoned in our state, but we're not. Let me see. We're not disclose that information. Who's who? But then Kyle and clemency board can. Why don't you take the answer?
Well, I'm here to share information about our process because unlike other states in Minnesota, the Constitution vests the authority for clemency in the Board of Pardons. So the governor doesn't have the authority to pardon based on what he decides. So it's in conjunction with the Attorney General and the Chief Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court. Prior to 2019, the amount of clemency applications that were granted was probably less than 20. In 2023, the Clemency Review Commission was created to increase that number. So last year, we had approximately 164 things that were granted. So clemency is pardons and commutations. The majority of what we do is a pardon, which sets aside a criminal conviction. So generally we see people who committed a crime 15, 20, 30 years ago, and they're still suffering from the collateral consequences of that. They've served their time, they've been on probation, they have not committed a crime in a long time, and they still have trouble renting housing, they still have trouble getting jobs, and they are still subject to deportation. So we have been successful in increasing the amount of pardons that can be reviewed, but it is a long, slow process. We are trying to expedite certain or give priority scheduling to certain applications when there is a time-sensitive issue, such as people that are homeless, people that have lost their jobs, people facing deportation, but even under that expedited process, it still takes 6 to 9 months because we have a waiting or a backlog of about 250 applications. So we are very under-resourced, and we're doing a lot more than we previously could, but we're trying to find policy and resource solutions to try and process more applications because the number of applications we get just goes up and up every year.
Excuse me, this constituent has been passed over 3 times. She was the next in line.
Yeah, I'll pass the mic. I'll make sure she gets the mic after.
Họ có muốn share tụi bọn mình người ta có lo muốn share cho nên nó giống như lên từ lên mỗi tuần đi ngồi lên bao từ ní part na cái có hú bên đó có họ là tao có hú transforming generations đó có họ tao bên theo attorney cái bên ba thế tung đi for the attorney ở cho nó đỡ đấy đó là phải cho nên thì ta sẽ nhớ hình á cái chỉ dùng gì but bên từ legislators na bên nó mỗi từ mong ấy nhá inside này nó bên từ một thọ cái là một parent đâu ở đây cho lúc thì nó là mà sai tao thì cho nó đỡ đó cái này nó là rất sao muốn đâu đấy á và thầu là sao muốn đâu đấy thì Friday Saturday Sunday quý muốn đó phòng J Liz chào lo chào quý hu nên có số mong tạm đi cho họ bên trái hiện tại giờ là sao muốn đâu đấy thì để parent chụp nữa mà so ta shna pe chota she tho so kya ni mu no apartment kan she lo pan ta ya tu pa na ke ni itu ni chiking he ya nếu tụ sai hiểu nó chỉ nông tạo chỉ mất sai của tụ governor chỉ mất bé tụ nên tụ sai đại pardon application á the attorney general to chief justice of the Supreme Court of Minnesota and to governor all tụ nên the bé tụ nơi tụ cha tê cái the bỏ rong cái này nó có tàu đại pardon Como i katamin how state of Minnesota sila isa te ko katamin how Minnesota sa itu governor mo ka pardon I pa to ko ta shi ko mo katamin tao lu la ke ka pardon de pa ka to ko chung lu la de e mo ka pardon lu la de te so chok no ke yo ko sa tan ji ke mo
But ขาดทุกคนนะbị bé không những con tàu dạng na thì sau chỉ cho khảoอย่างนี้คือหมดได้เหมือนไปตู้เจอตาวเลยเอาไปเลยละฮะแต่ชีวิตจีช่างต่อนะแต่ยังไม่หมดเลยตัวจีขอบเก็บหุ้นสูงเลยน้องเลยแต่ไม่หูข่าวยังไม่จะสอนยังเทสต์ไปเยอะอาจารย์เราไม่หูโชคคือcarry แต่sau chỉ cho nó làmไม่มา
Only thing I think is if the government play down to the state, we're gonna play down too. We're gonna punish everybody like eliminate ICE. That's all.
That's for Chow. Chow's awesome.
Hello, everybody. I don't have a question. I just want to make a statement. This is a capitalist country, and now people want to come here and live under socialism, which is very expensive. Now, I like some of these ideas, but they're unaffordable. And this is why I'm no longer a Democrat, because Democrats are creating unsustainable programs. I've been responsible for my life. I don't have a husband, I don't have children, I don't have a dog, even though I would like one, but I can't afford vet bills. And it's my understanding that Melissa Hortman, according to Rolling Stone magazine, created 2 programs that I disagree with because I can't afford it. And that's health care for undocumented children and driver's license for all. Well, I'm going to tell you this. If I get in an accident with an undocumented person and they are underinsured or not insured, I'm coming to the legislature to replace my car. And I want you to understand there are people, a lot of people like me out there, and all I'm asking you to do is consider that I'm living my life the best I can, not having extra pennies to spend. And I know it's gonna come and bite us all next year as we explain. That's very upsetting to me, because there's no money for all these programs.
Okay, well, maybe I just speak louder. I mean, point is well taken. And good to hear diverse view. We will work together. We will work together. To make a holistic change. And people do have needs. Like I don't know about. I do know, but I don't want to say on their behalf. But I do came out from a communist country, because communist country, and I believe the capitalism of this country too. But we shouldn't exploit capitalism. We should honor it and help those who are in need. And I'm low income myself, and I'm open to help the driver license for all. Feel free to bring the issue over. Should that chance of hitting a undocumented or immigrant with driving that we give license to. And Melissa Holtman, our great Speaker of the House, is already gone, and there was a lot of misinformation of her death, and I don't want to go there, but we should also at the same time honor her death as well. I didn't recall the first point you made, but the second point about driver license for all. We're all in it together. It's safer studies show that it's safer to have everybody with drive.
I'll just say this, I'm sorry that that's what you're having to go through, and I want to acknowledge that, but I'll say this. If a person that is driving and wants to drive, it doesn't matter what your status is. If it hits you, it could be a documented person or undocumented person. Would you rather have someone who hits you who has a driver's license, who knows how to drive, or someone who does not have a driver's license, doesn't know how to drive, is driving illegally and hits you? That's something healthcare for undocumented people, it costs us more money when we don't provide people healthcare in this country. So are you willing to pay more taxes to pay for the healthcare people, or are you going to allow us to give health insurance to undocumented people so that it doesn't cost you more money? If your point here is that it costs you too much money, then you have to support these programs.
Another point to this, how it affects us locally, and I won't stop talking about it. People will still need care whether or not they're uninsured or insured. What they end up doing is they end up in our emergency rooms, and that means we also have to pay for it collectively, whether that's through our premiums or else through our property taxes, and or they show up in our jails. If they are in our jail and detained, they are no longer eligible for medical assistance. That means local property taxpayers still have to pay for it. And I also want to pivot us to think about this, that in the richest country in the world, where we have the billionaires, there should be no question about why we have poor seniors, why we have hunger in our country. So I really reject the idea that it's so that we are operating just capitalism and socialism, that we're asking for socialist programs here, when we are really in fact subsidizing corporate billionaires.
You want new tax dollars?
I do not want new tax dollars. So that's not the goal, and I want us to also like not walk away here like being like dividing ourselves. I think the most important thing though to take away from this conversation as we think about the budget next year is that like the other side wants us to be divided. I think when you think about it, right, like people who live on the east side, we live here, we're actually, I mean, to be honest, like we're actually one of the poorest districts in the state, right? And when you look at like the tax brackets, like across Minnesota, we actually have more people who make less than $75,000, right? Like we make up about like 41% of the population. People who make like $75,000 less actually think make like 60% of the population. So I just want folks to understand that, like when you think about you know, who we're fighting for, you know, it should be working class families, right? Like in that gamut. And so when we like start, that is reality though. But so I just want us to keep that in mind. And I mean, the other pieces, right? Like the Greatest Generation benefited because we had all these social welfare net programs, right? And so I think this like binary of like capitalist versus socialist is meant to divide us, and I want folks to think large in that. But Janet, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm an actor, I just have a big voice. My name's Janet, I'm in 67A. Speaking of corporate, I qualify for energy assistance, so that's been great. I also benefit from property tax refund. Did a little bit of snap. But Excel Energy sent me a letter that said they're changing my due date because of the way they treat meters. And, you know, I'm on a payment plan, so I have to make my due date. So I just feel like Excel Energy is very, they're not transparent at all. It's very hard to read the meter. You can't tell how many kilowatt hours you're using. And I feel like they drive by, they supposedly read it by the air or whatever, you know. So that they're raising their rates, and they're not transparent, and I feel like they do funny business with your bill. You know, you can't argue with them because it's so complicated. Now, I have a master's degree, and I still can't understand it, you know what I mean? So I don't know how to, and it's like a full-time job to apply for some of these different assistance programs. I'm very happy that I qualified for a lot of them, but I'm also retired mostly, you know. So just putting that out there.
Yes.
Well, thank you, and just, we're right now 7:15, and so we're just gonna take 2 questions, or comments after this, 7:25 right now. So appreciate all the conversation, and now we're hearing hardcore information now from you. I see, this young lady, yes. Okay.
So I really appreciate what you've shared. I just want to go back to the rest. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Nelson,
Okay.
you gotta project.
I meant to stand so I can project, but I guess I didn't do that. I just really want to appreciate the testimony that we heard here, because I believe that that is a story and a lived experience that is actually so much more common than what we think. And I really want to highlight how important it is for us all to be advocates of density in our city, meaning that we're building more housing, we're building vertically as well, and also bringing in different types of housing. So not just single family homes, but also thinking about row homes, apartments as well, condos, a great mix of this, and also like expanding our tax base by bringing in more commercial. And really supporting even our businesses right now who are already struggling, but still just surviving and wanting to thrive. And so there's a lot that we can do. I thought a lot about how important it is right now for all of us really to be speaking to our congressional leaders, because to be honest with you all, whether we're talking about local government or the state, we're here as elected officials are so frustrated because we're still getting the scraps. I mean, and we're all paying into the pot for the federal government, and they're sending our dollars overseas to fight wars that many of us, I believe, do not agree with. I've been a huge fan of Women Against Military Madness and also Veterans for Peace, because they are so clear about where our federal dollars are going and how unjust it is, that it's going to war, that it's not even coming back to our public schools, it's not coming back to our local governments here. And so I just want you to know we feel so strained as well, and that's why we are in this fight for all of you. That's why we're up here fighting to make sure that we can make more possible. But at the same time, we need to really be lobbying our congressional leaders to understand your struggles, our struggles, and make sure that they're funneling these dollars back to our communities. And so there's just so many ways that we all can get involved, and I want you to know how important and critical your voice is, and also being a part of making that happen as well. Your stories matter.
Good evening, my name is Angela Fields, and I'm a community health worker, but I'm also a longtime resident of the greater east side of St. Paul. I'm on my 21st year. I raise children in this community, right? I'm raising grandchildren in this community. I'm a landlord, a business owner, and a contributor to my community. I've met each of you here on separate occasions, just frequently, and throughout my profession, to speak about community health workers. But today I came to really just be an observer. I wasn't going to speak until the conversation swayed regarding access and affordability. And so I just wanted to highlight that there is an underutilized, underfunded workforce that are frontline public health professionals, and that is community health workers. We are of the people, for the people, with the people, on the thresholds of people. We go beyond organizational and clinical walls. So we're out there on the front line as individuals. Many of you may have encountered us, but there's up to 50 titles that we go by. And so community health workers, we're funded by Medicaid funding. So we're being affected in our profession as well as in our personal lives. Many of our programs rely on short-term funding. There's low reimbursement to support our work. There's low acknowledgement. We are emerging. After 20 years, they're still considering us emerging profession. But we do ensure that individuals stay in their homes. They navigate systems. We are system changers, and we are on the threshing floor, and we want to be utilized. we want to be brought to the front. We want to be brought to these conversations. We want to know what committees can we be involved. I'm an executive on a national and a local level for CHW. I'm ambassador, and I have many connections to various initiatives throughout the Twin Cities and throughout the states. So I'm here to represent the people as well as community health workers. And we want to partner with you. Want to invite us to those tables.
Okay, move on. One question. Did you already?
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
I heard enough advice, but I want to talk about something local. We want to put in rapid transit from people out to Maplewood Mall. We have 4 city buses going in and out of that area. And you got about 10 people riding on them. You know, do we really need to spend all that money on rapid transit? Take a look at Woodbury's rapid transit. I rode the bus back and forth. I was the only one on the bus. And then Met Council pumped out $1 billion to put that system in. And what did we gain by it? Nothing. I think we could take that money and utilize it for someplace else. You know, simple as that.
I will take that. As Ramsey County, we are the planning body for transit, for major transit. And then we have to work with both the cities as well as the Met Council, because overall, we're just the planners of it. And then Metro Transit or Met Council, they're the ones who operate and manage it. When we think about the future, about giving access to people who need to get to work, to hospitals, to the malls, or our economy, we have to think about how we get people to places. We did a study where we looked at our land use, and most of our land use are either in tax exempt, but also in our right of ways. Like, we are using our roads and like using it just for cars. And so we are not able to capture as much even from that type of land use or money to like generate money for our budgets, our local budgets. So when we think about transit, we have to think about how can we get lots of people to get around, and then also meet our goals about reducing carbon emissions, because that's also where cars give out the most carbon emissions, right? And most of the time, we're ourselves in our own cars. So if you look at other cities and cities where they have a lot of people, but lots of jobs, and lots of places where people want to be, they have major transit to get people from place to place without having to worry about driving, finding parking. So it's definitely a values piece about how can we move people together efficiently, effectively, while protecting and preserving our environment, and also our infrastructure. For the bronze line that you're referencing there, we chose that line because we have direct control. Those are county-owned roads. Either way, those roads need to be fixed. We do not want it to be like West 7th, where there are literally sinkholes in there that's happening. So we are just going to prioritize that because the Ramsey County owns the road. We're going to make sure that it has a safety and access for people who bike, walk, and roll to, and make sure that White Bear Avenue is a place that people can cross. That's the #1 issue when I campaigned 4 years ago when I first started, is that White Bear Avenue is not safe, and it is not. It's one of our most dangerous roads in our county system. So having transit or dedicated transit there will help at least decrease those conflict points and make pedestrians more visible crossing the streets.
Senator, I want to ask you really quick to what Commissioner Zhang said. I'm a huge supporter of robust transit, and this is what I mean. Like, this is my 7th year on the St. Paul City Council, whether it was my campaign year or my year in governance. Transit in the East Side has always been an issue that people are supporting. They want more robust transit in the East Side. And even if you did not support the Bronze Line in the East Side, here's what I want to ask you. In the East Side, where it is one of the poorest communities in our city, they already do not have a lot of transit options at all. But other affluent areas in our city do. And so we know that people in the East Side need more ways to get around, not just cars, because some of them actually don't own cars at all. And so would you be okay with the poorest side of the city not having transit, robust transit, the way this is a huge equity question here to everybody, and I believe that everyone here wants the east side to have big wins, to have big investments, and the Bronze Line is a part of that.
So our time is up, and I want to thank all of you guys, everybody for coming. I also want to thank the Life System Show for coming. Those of you who didn't get your question asked or comment, papers here, and you can put your information in this envelope Q&A, and we'll make sure that all the elected officials get your information. And if you like us to hold town hall like this, we haven't had one in person for a long while. You know, maybe it's COVID, we can blame, and also with the ICE occupation, perhaps that was the case, but we do like to engage with people. I do like to engage with people, whether we have diverse views, and that's important. So I appreciate all of you attending. Also, thank you to those who helped me make this event possible, like providing, the speaker, ran out battery, and our social media group. We cannot answer all the questions out there, but you can text, reach out to us, look online for our information. I want to thank Councilwoman Neng Xiong, Commissioner Mike Tong. Coalition of Asian American Leaders, and those, thank you for coming. Jose, thank you. I thought it was going to be Oprah because I thought it was So, any last concluding remark? Our office is wide open. We live in a very fruitful community, even though we suffer economically, but we love each other. We stand by without bell and whistle. It depends on your point of view, but I think we are together, making sure that we're safe. I can attest to Nancy talk about her uncle been arrested by ICE, and now with community support was released. The guy that was dragged unquote in freezing weather was one of my cousins. But it's all of you, black and brown, Norwegian, Scandinavian, German, Irish. You guys make it happen. You guys blow the whistle. We should keep those armed agents and kick them out of state. So thank you very much, and we're gonna get together again. All right.